Welcome to another episode of Comics, the podcast where me and my mom go through our old comic book collection and pick a Marvel and a DC to talk about. And my Marvel for today is Marvel Tales, starring Spider-Man number 158. This is the debut of the Scorpion.
Scorpion. That is the cheesiest cover.
I love how I don't know, there's a lot of clean lines, and I like the negative space there. I feel like it balances it nicely.
It is. It's visually nice. I think
It is a little derpy looking.
Yeah, I'm
His
responding
face.
to his costume.
The tail
particular.
placement seems a little high.
Yeah.
It's like and it almost the way it's lines up with his like arm muscle. It looks like it's coming out of his armpit a little bit. Almost
Yeah,
the
and
depth
it's a little
isn't really
thick.
there.
It's like
Yeah.
if you could have cankles on your tail. He's got it.
You mean that's not what a scorpion's tail looks like? It's not just this thick green tube.
I don't know. If I saw a scorpion, I'd have to burn the house down. So I
Well,
don't know, but I will make fun of it.
They really emphasize that the Scorpion is stronger than Spider-Man. That's like it comes up several times.
Maybe it's because they're close. Well, spiders close to the ground too.
I
Yeah.
guess. Well, you
I
always
don't
hear
know.
that spiders can lift, so many times their body weight. I don't know if
No,
that's true. of
that's
Scorpion.
ants.
Really? Spiders aren't strong like that?
I don't know. Spiders are.
I thought he had the proportionate
sneaky.
strength of a spider.
Yeah, but he's quick like a spider. I don't know that spiders are strong.
He has the average. He has average strength then.
But he is strong.
He seems pretty strong. Have you
Yeah,
seen
he
Spider-Man?
is really strong.
He's very strong. Anyway, this is a 1983 reprint of a 1964 comic. I think it said it was printed or it was released in 64, but the cover date was January 65 when I looked up. So this is actually Amazing Spider-Man number 20 just in reprint form.
Okay.
So this will be a fun episode because we get to look at like the classic Dream Team Marvel, Steve Ditko and Stan Lee.
My favorite artist.
And you get to see that Marvel method in action where I guess they had like a rough outline of the story and he'd draw it up and Stan Lee would like caption it basically
Yeah.
rather than doing like a long form script or whatever.
I'm pretty sure somewhere in the collection we have some of the digests that are smaller, and they're like many books in a row.
Like reprints.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that we have some that are like all Ditko. So
I really did not like his style when I was a kid. I just didn't get it, but I think, being a little older and having a little more experience in different eras of comics, it's easier to understand in context.
well, yeah.
Not to make it too
I mean, and
academic or something, but
I started reading my uncles read them to me when I was little, like how your dad would read to you, but I was reading them on my own, like 6, 7. Started really young with like Amazing Spider-Man, because I think that those are really palatable for younger people.
oh yeah.
And I mean, of course, there's Spidey that is
They're a little
directly
soap opera-y.
targeted to the young kids. But when you're comparing the Spider-Man comics, I think the Amazing are, I don't know, easier for kids to read as a story or to understand or get into or whatever. But we started reading really young, right after learning how to read in school. And that's when I discovered Ditko and just loved it. And so yeah, that's what I grew up on, was the Ditko art.
I think it was really weird as a kid looking through your old comics and the comics I would buy at Taurus Comics. The shop we would go to would be like the 90s, peak 90s, like
Yes.
cross-hatching and like
The
bunch
big
of huge guns that are the
muscles on
side of your
muscles,
size of your body. Yeah, exactly. So contrasting, coming from that frame of reference is like, that's the newest, coolest thing. Looking at this, it's like, what the? He doesn't look at his arm. It's not even the size of his whole torso. How could he be strong? But there's a, it's just, style. I guess you just become more aware of passing trends and different aesthetics and stuff as you get older.
Oh, absolutely.
But there's a really weird thing in the credits that I don't mean to speak ill of Stan Lee, but sometimes the things he does just seem a little weird. He says, many readers have asked why Stan's name is always first on the credits, and so big-heartedly agreed to put Stevie's name first this time. How about that? So he put Stevie, because I don't know how true it was in real life, but a lot of the media about them depict Stan Lee as the more like braggadocious, kind of like frontman of Marvel Comics, and like hyping them up and being like a marketing kind of whiz. And he's a good writer too, but like Stevie Ditko's kind of like off in the corner, being quiet and drawing the thing. So it's weird. I don't know. It's a weird thing to like. I wonder if people were really writing in and be like, why are the credits like that? Or is that just like a little inside joke for them because they're having fun writing this comic? Or Stan Lee's just poking fun at himself and being like, my ego's not too big or something. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Interesting.
Another really awkward placement of Scorpion's tail, if you ask me. It's just, it looks a little dumb.
It looks like it comes from his spinal cord.
Yeah, or it looks like the width of the base of it makes it look like maybe there's nothing there, but it's like a bunch of, it's like a baby with a big sagging poopy diaper where like a bunch of stuff fell into the bottom of it, but it's kind of just swinging from like,
yeah.
It's a little funky looking.
But what do we know about the Scorpion? Is it like elephant, like man elephant, where it's all hydraulics and science?
Basically, that's the thing that's so disappointing about the Scorpion is he's supposed to be like a mutation where he took on the characteristics of a scorpion because of some kind of like genetic science, kind of similar to Spiderman, but I don't know. It's kind of. We'll get into it as you'll see. I do also want to point out, it's kind of weird how skinny the little Spider-Man logo on his back is. Doesn't it look a little squished? So they kind of tease the action on this first page, but we zoom back.
And it's the beginning of the story.
And these 9-panel pages, I'm not a huge fan of this layout. I think it's kind of cool because like if you have these symmetrical little boxes,
you really learn how to read comics.
You
to
definitely
follow sequence art.
Oh yeah, it's very like a storyboard of a movie or something.
Yes.
And when they're all symmetrical like this, and there's a cool thing of working within the limitations of like, well, I know they're all going to be this size, so I have to figure out cool things to do in the panel to break up the momentum and stuff. Anyway, I was going to say I like them, but it gets a little dense. I was surprised at how much narration and dialogue there was in this comic compared to some of the comics we've gone over recently. It's dense with thoughts and descriptions and stuff, which kind of crowds out the art. I would like to see some of these would look so good if they were just a little bit bigger. I think if they had a little bit more space to play with. Anyway, we start off with some guy following Peter Parker around, and I guess J. Jonah Jameson hired this guy to figure out how Peter Parker gets such good photographs of Spider-Man, so he's worried that it's
driving J. Jonah crazy.
It's weird that he cares that much. He's already paying him for the photos, and then he has to pay another guy. Find out why my worker's so good at his job.
Exactly.
It's making me suspicious.
Exactly.
So just throwing money at
settle
everything.
down, guy.
And that's what he does all comic, actually, is throw money at his problems and have moments of reflection, but is unwilling to change because even though he's aware of his own conduct. So he leaves his friends here. So long, Liz. And Flash Thompson says, "Go play in traffic, pest." It's kind of harsh.
Yeah, frenemy.
His spider sense is tingling. because he knows this guy is following him, but he doesn't want to let on that he's aware of it. And the guy laid outside his house, he's standing by the tree observing him. He's like, what am I going to do? I know. I'll reveal my Spider-Man costume right in this window. It's like, how dark could it be there that the guy's not like, wait a minute, I saw what was under your shirt there. But he manages to really quietly open the window, follow this guy who goes to a phone booth to report back to Jameson, and he's like, nothing's going on so far, but as long as you keep paying me. He's like a really one-dimensional, it's like, as long as money is involved and I'm getting it, he doesn't have like a motivation for wanting so much money. He's just like, I like money. So he follows him because the guy's going back to Peter Parker's house, and he freaks out for a moment. He's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back in my window without someone noticing. And
so he jogs on the power line.
Well, I don't know if you were aware of this. He jumps on the power lines and he creates a bat out of his webbing to startle the private investigator guy, the thug that was following him. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I didn't remember him ever shaping he makes it's weird because he's like, it distracts him just long enough where I can do this little flippy into the window, and he lands a little loud. He's not a perfect gymnast, but it's pretty gymnastic looking. Of course, Aunt May comes and he's like, oh, I just knocked a chair down or something. Yeah.
Doesn't she look like they modeled her after the Crypt Keeper?
I know.
So sad.
Some depictions of Aunt May, she's so incredibly old. And it was making me think, maybe that should be in one of the movies, instead of making her really young like they did recently, don't make her so old that she's not aware that he's Spider-Man just because she has dementia. It's not that he's so good at keeping up his appearance, but she's just so out of it that he's like, oh yeah, I fell down. That's why all my bones are broken.
But it's bizarre because usually your aunt or your uncles are the same age or close to age to your parents.
Yeah.
And your parents are only, at the most 25 years older than you.
Not in his case. They were 60 years older than him. They waited a long time. Why do you think they're not there? His mom was 90. But yeah, I thought that was some really goofy
interesting.
Make a distraction. And if you're just gonna distract him, why not distract him with a sound or just any object? Does it have to look like a bat? If it's swooping down from the darkness at you, you'll probably be startled no matter what. But I love that he takes the time to form it into it's that's a pretty good looking bat. I wouldn't have been startled if it wasn't so convincing in its likeness of a bat.
Oh man.
Did you ever watch these kind of shows when you were young?
No.
I don't remember any of these shows being in reruns when I was a kid. I think maybe I watched the new Scooby and Scrappy Doo because I remember those being a tier lower than the regular Scooby Doo cartoons. They were not quite as good.
No, I don't remember. I think I was old. What year is this again?
I think this is an 83 reprint.
Okay, so I was just in college.
They should have reproduced the 1965 ads if they really. That wouldn't make any sense.
This is creepy.
The masked Pac-Man.
Yeah.
At least wear some underwear or something. Yeah. Why do the boots gotta go so high?
He's got the boots like you were complaining about last week.
Yeah. Menudo. One of my music teachers in college was the drummer from Menudo.
Wow.
That's what he said. Anyway, back to our 9-panel grid here. He's ruminating about, wow, what am I going to do about this situation? This guy's on my tail. And the next day, he's still following him. So he's like, I won't do anything suspicious. He goes to visit Betty Brant, his love interest. I guess married. I think this is pre-Mary Jane times. Or at least, maybe she was just introduced because he's more into Betty Brant at this point. She works at the Daily Bugle, I love the way he walks around with like his hand behind his back, like he's like a dictator or something, or like it's such a studied pose. I feel like that's something. The only reason people do stuff like that, it's so unnatural to stand like that, is they like saw somebody do it in a movie or something. And they think it's cool. Like when I'm really mad, I'm gonna toss things around with one hand in my office and put my other hand at a right angle behind my back, like you always do when you're relaxing. Like that's so weird. Why
I don't
do
think
that?
he relaxes.
Or it makes him look like
He's crazy.
His facial expressions are some of the best ones in this comic. Whereas sometimes like Peter's head shape is a little weird with his like
He's very
flat
Andrew
hair.
Garfield.
Yeah, he's got like a banana-shaped face or something.
Yeah.
But some of these facial expressions by Jameson, he looks really maniacal in some of them.
Oh, he is. He is.
His big monologue, though, is he wants to get the anti-Spider-Man. He wants to create someone that could take down Spider-Man. And he's like, what's this new thing? Some nutty scientist claims to have found a way to cause artificial mutations in animals. Big deal. He's like, well, the real problem is Spider-Man. And then he realizes, wait a minute, maybe these mutations are the answer to Spider-Man. And so he's going to go visit that scientist, and with his brilliant stroke of genius, as he says, he's going to create somebody to take him down. So the guy he's hired to follow Peter Parker's like, he's just going to visit his girlfriend at the Daily Bugle. This is a bust. I can't find anything. And he's like, J. Jonah Jameson's going to be so mad when I tell him I couldn't find anything out. But he's not mad, because he's like, I lost interest in Peter Parker. He's like, scrap that. I have a new job. And he's like, as long as you're paying me, I'll do anything. I would have heard about it first. Like, don't be too eager.
I have the feeling, though, that Jameson always has this guy on retainer.
Gargan, that's the guy's name. Gargan. How could you be a good guy if your name's Gargan? No offense to any Gargans out there.
That's a Gargan expression. That's...
Yeah, some of these faces are so underdeveloped, and how they're... I guess it's just... I don't know. Maybe he was doing it fast. Or maybe it's the size. I don't know.
Oh, I think it's a stylistic
choice. The weird
choice.
forehead bump there. Like the brow bump.
His inner Neanderthal.
Her head, she looks like an alien or something. Like she looks like a brainiac alien or something. But anyway, he visits, and this other guy is like his rival. This is
Flash?
No, Flash was the guy that told him to get hit by a bus or whatever, by playing traffic. Let's see. Pete, that's who it is. No, I'm sorry. He's saying Peter Parker. Ned Leeds.
Ned.
Gosh. I swear I did read this. Ned Leeds, he's like, I'm on assignment in Europe thanks to Jameson, so I'm going to be leaving for a couple months. And he's like, oh, great. All of Peter Parker's thoughts are like, great, I'm really glad this guy that this girl I like might like as well is leaving. They're in a hurry, Gargan and Jameson, to go to visit the scientist. And you notice this fish is climbing a tree, and this rat with its little angry eyebrow line is like drowning. But you would think that. But as JJJ here points out, you mean you actually mutated a rat so it can swim like a fish? It doesn't look like it's doing very well. And enabled a fish to breathe air like a rat? And I guess he's surviving, but he doesn't look like... I mean, he can breathe, but is he going to be able to move around, or is he just stuck on that stick? And the scientist corrects him. He says, well, mutated is not the exact scientific word, Mr. Jameson, but I believe you summed it up accurately enough.
It's good enough.
And it's really funny how in like a panel he goes from being like, the cause of science is what motivates me and betterment of our world, and then J. Jonah Jameson's like, I'll give you $10,000 if you do what you did to those animals to this guy. He's like, well, science is great, but $10,000 would be very good for science. So okay, I'll do it.
For science.
All he has to do is put his hand up like he's considering it, and he's like, you make a really good point. $10,000 is pretty good, especially 1965 money. That would have been great. He could buy all the animals he needs to torture. So anyway, they shave him. You have to be shaved to undergo this procedure. That's Gargan. Is they shave his little head.
They're doing him?
Yeah, Gargan becomes the Scorpion. Dun dun dun. I know, it blows open everything you knew about that character and his motivations. He went from being evil in a petty way to evil in a mad science way.
Yeah.
Some of his little slits of eyes, some of these drawings, that like reminds me of anime or something.
Yeah.
Like it's goofy.
It's bizarre looking.
Watching him flex it like it's humming with motion. It's goofy looking. So in addition to getting these mutations, the scientist builds him this cybernetic. It's a synthetic scorpion tail, really is what it is. Which, I always thought it would have a big blade on the end, like most scorpions. And I think later versions of this character made it more scorpion-like. But it's kind of just like a snake. It's like having a worm on your butt.
What are his powers? He can dismantle concrete with his granite.
He's really strong. Remember on the cover, how can Spider-Man defeat a foe who is stronger than he is? Well, we're about to figure that out. He's very strong. He just grabs this concrete. That's one of my favorite parts of this sequence too. Is he says, "Give me something to test my strength on. I've got to see if I'm as powerful as I feel."
And so they have a granite block.
I know. Well, if you ever need to test your strength on something, it's good to have a granite block, just a square of granite somebody can break with their fingers. And that's actually one of the things.
Web.
Looks like foreshadowing.
Ooh.
And then he accidentally breaks this precious machinery because he hasn't learned to control his tail yet.
Of course.
But that makes me wonder, is this some creative Marvel method discrepancy? Because it almost looks like he's like, maybe I'll just rebel against you guys. Now that I'm so powerful, why do I need you to? And he threatens them. But the way it's written is not like that. He's like, you need to stay with the scientist. He'll teach you how to use your tail, so settle down. But who knows if when Stan Lee came in to fill it in, Steve might have been going for something else. Because it's like, what leverage do they really have over him now that he's a super...
Right.
I mean, he thinks of that later, a few pages on, but it's kind of goofy.
Well, money, but now he could just go and take his money.
Yeah, exactly. And he tries to. But, I love this little sequence. It's so cartoony.
He looks like Ron... what's his name? From the guy, the show about that town.
Ron Swanson?
Yes, he looks like Ron Swanson right there.
Yes.
That's so weird.
So, anyway, we cut back to Peter's rival getting on the plane. That was like a quick goodbye. He's like, God, hooray. Yeah, he's got such sarcastic little thoughts. I love that. Anyway, he's like, maybe he stays in Europe forever. Anyway, he changes in the alley and confronts J. Jonah Jameson because he wants to figure out why this guy's been following him as Peter Parker. And they exchange witty banter. And JJJ is like, wait till you encounter the Scorpion.
Gives it away. He has no subtlety. He's just a...
Does this look like the face of a subtle man to you?
I'm trying to be subtle. I can't do it.
I told you he had some great... he has some great faces. So the Scorpion jumps down on him. And he gets the upper hand. He's stronger than Spider-Man. And I guess his strength and speed, his physical powers exceed Spider-Man's. And for a while, though, he subdues him with his webbing.
Okay.
His spider's webbing. I love the way they phrase that of we're used to hearing like, shoot him with a web, or I webbed him, or these are my webs, but I will unleash my spider's webbing upon him. It's very, I don't know, it's a weird way to phrase it. The one thing I didn't prepare myself for, it's his strongest single weapon. Some of this dialogue is a little goofy. His strongest single weapon. It subdues him for a little bit, but actually to answer your question, I didn't really get to. Yeah, he doesn't really have a tail like a scorpion. They had to add that in addition to the mutation. But his fingers, he's got the pincing power of a scorpion's
so
pincers.
That's why he could break the granite.
It's almost like they came up with that idea halfway through the comic. I just remembered something, Webhead. Scorpions have powerful pincers, which they use at will. They use them at will, not involuntarily. And since I have Scorpion's powers, rats, he snipped my webbing with his fingers, as though it were made of straw. And that makes JJJ so happy.
Oh my god, that's great.
Yeah, I feel like maybe when they were working on it, he saw some of the pages, and he's like, he doesn't really look. Is he Snake Man? He's Garter Snake Man? Is he? He's not a scorpion. So they invented the finger thing like halfway through, and be like, we didn't actually give him claws to make him look like a scorpion, but his fingers are like scissors apparently, which would be a handy power to have in the household. I don't know. But, they do develop this scientist character. I was complaining that Scorpion's motivations were a little one-dimensional, but this scientist has remorse, and he's like, oh no, according to these new tests, the Scorpion will be even more powerful than I thought. And the more his strength increases, the more his evil nature will take over. So you wonder what characteristics of a Scorpion did Gargan get? He got the pincing fingers. He got super strength, which, scorpions are known for that. And also their evilness, their innate evil. That's one thing that happens is that he adopts the scorpion's amorality later on in this comic. He loses all sense of right or wrong, which everyone knows is the hallmark of a scorpion. So he's like, I need to use this antidote. And use the serum to deactivate his powers before it's too late. He apparently knows like exactly how long it'll take. So he gets the upper hand. He throws Spider-Man into a water tower. Not much water to be seen. It was empty, I guess. But he's knocked out. He takes out Spider-Man. He wins. In their first battle, he doesn't kill him or anything. He just leaves him passed out. I know. Whoa. I love that. Those eyes make him look really crazy. That's that scorpion mania that he has. That's what scorpions are like all the time. They just don't have human enough features to express that level of monomaniacal rage. And that's what J. Jonah Jameson says. He's like, well, where's Spider-Man? I wanted to unmask him. And Scorpion, this is where he's like, you know what? Why do I have to answer to you? I don't need your $10,000 or to take orders from you when I can go rob this little armored car, which turns out to be empty. He uses his very strong scissor-like pinchers to figure out. So he starts beating up the guards that are loading jewels into it. Help! Our gems! He's stealing them! So he gets gems, which, I don't know, where are you going to... They're worth a lot, but how do you get rid of them then? It's not like just because you have superhuman scorpion powers doesn't mean you have like contacts in the criminal underworld that can, get them sold without being detected by the cops. He really
can't go through.
He has the lack of foresight of a scorpion.
Pay with a ruby.
Yeah. How many hamburgers will this get me? Just didn't think it through. Anyway, so Spider-Man recovers and is going to confront the Scorpion, who is in the meantime has encountered the scientist who created him, and he says, Gargan, thank heavens I found you. Perhaps there's still time. You? What do you mean? Time for what? For you to take this serum. Unless you drink it quickly, you'll never be able to change back again, and you'll lose all sense of right and wrong. Well, you don't say. I've got news for you, Stillwell. You're too late. never want to change back again, but I do know the difference between right and wrong. Whatever the Scorpion does is right.
Why? It's like that in movies too. Why doesn't the scientist run up and go, I forgot to give you this, it'll make you 10 times stronger than what you are?
That's exactly what I thought. Use a little reverse psychology. He's not, he's got the brain of a scorpion now. You could probably manipulate him.
Yeah.
Just say, this will make your tail less dorky looking. Drink it.
It'll give you a good costume. Like this guy's.
I love this drawing of Mr. T, too.
Well, he's mad that this guy's that much stronger than he is.
Yeah, well, he's got all the powers of a tiger, I guess. He looks like Tigger's chubbier cousin or something.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. The Flintstone Funnies, the Shirt Tails. Is he part of the Shirt? Smurfs. Okay, everybody. Alvin, Mr. T. No.
He must be a shirt. He's wearing a shirt.
It must be, yeah, shirt. That's bizarre.
What are they icing the cake with? It looks all like brownish.
Old people?
It's creamed old person. Anyway, I really do like a lot of the action going on here. I also find it hilarious that the Scorpion starts scaling this building. I think it's the Daily Bugle building. And the scientist's like, well, better start falling. Like, he doesn't have super strength or anything. He's like, I'm going to just start climbing up this building, chasing him with the potion. It's like, I don't think, how are you going to get him to take it? And of course he falls and he dies. He dies. They don't depict his corpse or anything, but later on they say, now that I can't save the scientist, or he says something like, it was too bad, I didn't get here in time to save the scientist. I feel like in a lot of the modern Spider-Man movies and stuff, and the depictions of him, he's always like shooting out one last minute webbing to catch the person who's falling, or rarely does, it's a big deal when he can't save someone. They really emphasize, like, he's got to save everybody, but back in episode 20... that's just desserts. You shouldn't have been...
He's too late to help that poor fella.
Yeah, he learned his lesson the hard way. He had his moment of weakness by taking that money to create a villain, and he paid the ultimate price.
Wow.
Anyway, he tackles him, and it seems like things are going better for Spider-Man at first, but as time goes on, like, the serum he took just keeps... or the mutation he underwent, the serum, it was the solution, keeps building his powers. He's getting stronger and stronger. And I love that instead of like showing him wailing on Spider-Man just over and over again, we just get his face closer and closer. It's pretty intense. It's a cool way to... Because, there's only so many ways you can see those two characters arranged in a dynamic way. Right. So it's nice to cut from that.
So he has become the embodiment of all that is evil.
Like a scorpion.
Oh, boy.
This is kind of a moment where Jameson is, like, humanized a little, because he's kind of just like a senseless bully for most of it, or like he's just...
For most of his life, I think.
Yeah, he's just an antagonistic person. He says, what? Stillwell is dead? And the Scorpion has robbed Carter's jewelry store. A police dragnet is combing the city. People are locking themselves indoors. Nobody knows it, but it's all my fault. I'm the one to blame. If not for me, there would be no Scorpion. Just to satisfy my own personal hatred, I tried to destroy Spider-Man. And in so doing, I've unleashed a far worse menace upon the world. A menace I can no longer control. A menace which no one can control.
Oh, no.
But it's pretty short-lived, the way things work out. Yeah, he has his moment of... And I do like this red panel where, they depict his surroundings in his office for most of it, but there's that one panel where it's like, let's ignore everything in the external world and just think about... He does. Also interesting that these aren't thought bubbles, but he's just like, he's in his office just talking about like, oh, good thing no one knows I'm to blame. He thinks nobody could hear him.
Poor guy.
He's whipping rocks at him. I like that. That's a cool panel. His eyes are so tiny too. More of those little like abbreviated anime style eyes to me.
Yeah.
So the Scorpion, it's not a quick... You might think they'll have the Scorpion beat Spider-Man, but then Spider-Man musters enough courage or determination to beat him. But no, the second time Spider-Man gets his ass whooped too. It's just 2 times in a row. They're keeping
Well, they're
strong with it.
consistent.
Yeah, there's not some. There's, he doesn't just say, oh, if I just do this to him, he's allergic to water or something. It's not an easily solved problem, at least for the most part.
He's still got that sack.
He's still grabbing. I know, I love the way he drapes it over his tail. He just grabs part of the building and starts scaling it.
Wow.
But it's the cries of his love interest, Betty Brant, here that help give him the courage to pick himself up. I do like the holes in his mask.
Yeah,
that's always a nice
It's a nice touch.
They really emphasize that it's not all about Spider-Man being fast or being strong or being able to make bats out of his webbing. He can take a beating, and that's what,
Well,
sometimes you have to take a beating and keep going.
Look at Bruce Willis. In all of his movies, he takes a beating like hardly anybody can.
They should have had him be Spider-Man. It'd be a little weird casting, but maybe you could just do all the stunts. So anyway, Jameson gets to look like a hero because he's like, get out of here, I'll take care of the Scorpion, even though
he's trying to save himself.
Well, the Scorpion earlier had realized, he's like, Jameson's the only one that knows I'm Gargan. If I kill him, nobody's going to know who this super powerful Scorpion guy doing all the bad things are. So he's got to clean up any loose ends,
So he's aware still enough that the doctor is dead, that the scientist is dead.
Yeah. Well, that's the weird thing, too. I appreciate you pointing that out because he says, beat it, Stillwell. The only reason I'm letting you live is because I figure I owe it to you for making me unbeatable. And it's like, didn't you previously in the last panel just say that you have no sense of right or wrong? And it's only what's good for the Scorpion? That's exactly what he says there. Whatever the Scorpion does is right. And it's like, well... And now he's saying, like, well, I felt an obligation to not kill you. Make up your mind, Scorpion. I guess that's the problem is. Whatever he says is right. Even
maybe
if
that's
it contradicts
what Scorpions are really like, though. There's a lot of gray. It's not all black and white. Scorpions.
They're known for their moral complexity, you're right. Yes. Some people call them the philosophers of the animal kingdom. Anyway, still, Spider-Man really can't physically defeat him. He's wow. He does end up immobilizing his feet, which he could get out of, but it slows him down enough where he can tear off his tail. Ooh. It's like, look, everybody thinks this looks stupid. Let's get that off of you. And so much of like machinery or gadgets, I feel like, have these circular circles within circles and like little connecting. I feel like that's a pattern you see in like a Celestial's mask or like a Fantastic Four gadget or something. Is those patterns? They're very like Ditko style. He had his own way of doing that. One thing, he does get a hold of Spider-Man's wrist, and it's like, man, he can cut through sheet metal or something. He can cut through anything. It doesn't break him, though. You would think it would just cut his damn hand off. But it says that Spider-Man, instead of recoiling, pushes in to Scorpion, setting him off balance and giving him the upper hand. He eventually knocks him out and tells Jameson, call the cops before he wakes up. Which is like, I don't know if the cops can handle him. Even after he's been beat up, he just cut through the handcuffs. And he's super duper strong. How are they going to subdue him?
Right.
And Jameson sighs relief because he says, my secret is safe for now. But what supreme irony. I was saved from a menace whom I myself helped to create. Saved by the one he was created to destroy. So he has these moments of reflection where he's like, yeah, maybe I'm the bad guy. But of course it doesn't matter to his long-term character development because he's like, I think I'll continue being evil just to make sure that this was probably a fluke. I'm definitely in the right here. Flash Thompson sees Peter's all beat up. I mean, he got beat up 2 different times by the Scorpion. And, he took some good hits in the last confrontation. He's like, what, did an infant beat you up when you're trying to take its lollipop from its carriage or something?
He's such a jerk.
I love this thought bubble. Peter's like, he'll never know how lucky he is. I almost lost control of my temper. I'd have pulverized him and his fists are shaking. He's like...
And to the Flash, he probably thinks it's funny. He's shaking. He's so scared.
So many of the depictions of Peter Parker as being like innately like the underdog, or like he would never loses cool, and even though he knows he could beat him up, he's never gonna like be baited. It's funny to see him like barely holding back because it's like it makes his character so when he does like almost lose control, it's more meaningful because most of the time they're like, well, he's a good-natured person at heart, and he would never, even though it's tempting to prove the bully wrong. Anyway, there's an ancient anime again. Her features are like shrinking. She's got that long, weird banana chin, similar skull to Peter, but it's like her eyes shrink every panel until she just withers into nothing. And of course, who gets the credit for this great defeat of the Scorpion? It was Jameson.
The Triple J took it.
Published in his own newspaper.
What a jerk.
And it's hilarious. He says something about people with power. I know now that anyone with too much power is liable to turn into a menace sooner or later. It's like that coming from the guy who has his own media empire, who's lying about. It's like the self-awareness last page wore off, and now he's completely hypocritical and awful again. And we were left with Peter Parker sewing up his costume and licking his wounds and wondering what happened to that guy that was tailing me, because he doesn't know it was Gargan the whole time. That was the Scorpion.
Right.
What was up with that? I guess I'll never get the answers to my questions about that. And if we want, we can cut out this pinup and have Peter Parker and old Webhead on our wall.
Wow. I wonder
Honestly,
if kids did that back in the day.
I'm sure they did. Honestly, though, wouldn't you want to just have a bigger picture of old Webhead? I mean, Peter Parker is cool, but who wants a picture of a nerd with, like, some beakers on their wall? They want Spiderman blasting us with some web.
Yeah.
His spider's webbing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd rather... That's a poster. That's like a...
That is interesting. Did that ever happen?
Wow. In your future, the Alien Legion... New from Epic Comics. That would be a cool one to look up. I've never heard of the Alien Legion, but I like that art style. That's weird.
Know.
It's also jarring to see this 80s advertisement juxtaposed with the 60s art. Very, very different styles. But anyway, there you have it. It's the origin of the Scorpion, the most amoral of animals. What comic did you look at? We've got a DC one here.
All right. So I chose DC Comics Presents Superman and Aquaman. And I chose it for the cover. And I think that there is some similarity in the cover of the book that you just had and the one that I had with the negative space.
That. Yeah.
And I like how that white, you don't see that much white usually in a comic book. And I like how it just makes the green and the blue of the uniforms pop. And then this brown of the octopus.
Yeah, is he made of
Stands
bread or something? He's made of beef jerky?
That's what gives them their power, is their jerkiness.
I like these. Normally I would think that these rectangles of text would be kind of intrusive, but it works. I think because there's no detail in the background, it's clean enough as a design. If there was a sky even, or like a ship or something in the background, it would be too cluttered. But why not just let the action of that sell it?
Yeah.
I would want to read a comic if I saw them being subdued by a brown octopus. But what I know about the Black Pirate, we've got a bonus feature comic.
We do have a bonus feature.
It's one thing that's nice about some comics is it's a self-contained, this is part of an ongoing narrative, but you can tune in just for that one and get a satisfying conclusion to the adventure of the Scorpion. It's always weird when they have the little, 2-page comic at the end.
Yeah.
I can't remember what happened.
I mean, the Black Pirate, I don't know.
He's purple, obviously.
That's not him. So anyway, let's get started. So we start with Aquaman, and he's in the ocean, and he sensed the stress, the cries and distress coming from the ocean, so he went down there, and all these fish are dying, and he's upset with, it makes him upset because, he's their protector, he's part of their world, so,
I love all the lines.
Yes. And so it makes him angry with Star Labs. And so to save these fish who are all dying, he calls in the mammals of the ocean because they don't breathe the water, they breathe air, and whatever's in the water that's hurting those fish that he is blaming Star Labs for, it's not going to affect the mammals. So they get a net that's down there from an abandoned ship, and he goes to save these fish, and then this tentacle comes from the deep, and he grabs him, and Father Neptune, what?
Do you think he says that like when he stubs his toe around the house? Father Neptune, my dang toe.
Don't you? By the mighty. And so he's like, I don't know why this octopus is so hostile, but since I can't break its hold by sheer force, I'll do it mentally. And he does, but he gets hit back with a mental blow of its own.
He does the old reverso card on him.
I like how they depict the mental blows.
These almost look like aliens from like War of the Worlds or something.
Yeah.
They're kind of creepy looking.
Yeah, and while he's looking this way, thinking, what manner of undersea creature is this? Look at what's behind him. It's like, they're behind you, Aquaman.
I kind of found octopi scary before they were telepathic. Now they're really menacing.
Oh,
They're supposed to be really smart, though,
They
right?
are really intelligent.
Which makes them more scary.
Yeah.
They're cunning.
But,
They'll kill you.
But they're beloved. But anyway,
Not by Aquaman.
they're ganging up on him, and he says it feels like he's being and then it says, but Aquaman's thought goes uncompleted as mental shocks ripple through his entire body, giving us pause to wonder if he will ever think again. It's so dark right away.
The comic ends.
Yeah,
I do like the colors because it really sells them being deep in the water. Some of these really dark blues.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I like this battle here with his mind commands.
It's got to be hard to do to depict that they're in a constantly flowing, current of water, but to also have clean enough backgrounds to have the action, like have momentum to it and stuff. They do a great job.
Yeah, they do. They do a very good job.
I really like the lines in this panel, and cutting it into these weird asymmetrical shapes is a cool strategy.
With the overlapping text, yeah. Yeah, this is nicely done.
Especially contrasting the 9 panels we were getting pretty uniformly in the.
This is kind of all over the place. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice. So then we cut back to a scientist who's getting visit from Star Labs, who's getting visited by Superman, who's bringing this. Now, when this red flag, you hear Superman walking into this lab. He's like, oh, thank you for that specimen of alien aquatic life, Superman. And he's donating it to the new center that they have.
Star Labs.
And
why did he give him a tank that's like the exact size of his body? That's cruel, Superman.
I know it. And it says that he got it from, where did he say that he got it? That from the Andromeda galaxy. It's like,
he just kidnapped it to bring here?
Yeah, to bring here. I found it on one of my planetary explorations. And
Superman needs to see Star Trek and realize he shouldn't just go to alien planets and just kidnap
the Prime Directive
organisms. Yeah.
Anyway.
I thought he was supposed to be an ethical character.
So anyway, before she's trying to come through and warn them, but the Superman turns around and he goes, warn us about what? And then crack, right through the wall. Aquaman, what is the meaning of this?
I also want to point out, he says it's just been taking up space in my Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah.
How long has this poor guy been confined in his little coffin of water?
I know, isn't that awful?
Jeez.
Yeah, look at him. He just is dead.
If he wasn't evil already, he's definitely evil in there.
Yeah, they'll have his origin story. But anyway.
He comes in like the Kool-Aid man.
Yeah, coming in hot. If you know what's good for you, Superman, you won't try to protect Dr. Marsh. And so he's blaming.
Really, Aquaman, you're going to try to go toe-to-toe with Superman?
Well, a scientist first, and then Superman. And he's like, me? Well, why? He goes, don't play innocent with me, Marsh. You restarted those transmitters after you promised you'd turn them off. He goes, that's a lie. And because he thinks that they started an experiment, that he restarted an experiment that they were doing before.
And that was messing with the fish.
Yes. And so, yeah, look at it. He whacks Superman, and Superman's like,
it looks like it hurt him, too.
Woo! I'll have to end this as painlessly as possible for both of us.
Yeah, that's a real wince. Damn! It hurt my teeth. Like my teeth clacked together when you punched me. I had my mouth a little open.
Bit my tongue!
That would be the way to get Superman, because his own strength would harm him, right?
Yeah, well, but he's bulletproof. So
not
his tongue...
tooth-proof. His teeth are like stronger and faster than bullets. If he bit down hard enough.
Ooh.
You think you ever do that by accident? He's like, oh, great Neptune! I bit my tongue out. Clargus's footrest.
Oh my God.
I don't know. It's probably some Kryptonian deity that he says.
Yeah. So he goes, a blast of super breath to slam him against the wall. And I ate a whole clove of garlic. So he blows him into the wall. And then and Aquaman's like, oh, didn't feel the thing. Now you get a double-barreled dose of my power. And then he passes out. It's like, what? And then Superman's like, great Krypton. He's keeling over. Great Krypton. But then he says, he points out that the doctor's like, what did you do to him? And he's like, nothing. It must have been, he passed the limit of 1 hour out of water, so he needs soaking fast. So he uses his heat vision to turn on the old fire sprinkler there. And Aquaman comes too.
It just turned one on.
Yeah, he turned on one. This is predate. No, they do have electronic instruments.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like, what if he caused all of them to go off? Like, oh, thanks, Spider-Man, or Superman, you ruined all of our equipment here. Again. Take your dumb fish with you. Get out of here.
But he remembers that he was mad when he came across the Star equipment down there, and then he came here, and he's thinking about, what had happened. But now I see that they must have started up the machines again. And he's like, well, who's they, Aquaman? And he says, octopi mutated and intelligent. When they blasted me telepathically, I got a mental glimpse of their plans. They're out to conquer the world.
Starlab looks like a restaurant or something with that sign.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, goofy. It does. There's dun, dun, dun. But how does that tie in with our project to alter undersea conditions to those of primordial times? So maybe that's why they wanted Superman's fish.
Oh, I see.
But anyway, he said that wouldn't cause any evolutionary leap. So he's saying we didn't do that.
Yeah. So they're trying to simulate way back in time.
Right.
He's saying that maybe they've mutated further beyond their current evolution.
And in actuality, they have, but it goes back and forth with how the scientist sees mutations and how we understand mutations taking generations. And this is actually within this small time frame.
He looks pretty mad. Maybe if you just get mad enough.
Look
at his little eyebrow.
I know. He's intense.
He's pissed.
He's intense. And
that's unfathomable, pun intended. Do you think he makes water jokes like that all the time?
Yes.
We're really out of our depth here, Superman.
It's but anyway,
I feel like a submarine sandwich. How about you?
So Superman is gonna go, and they tell the scientist, "You wait here. We're gonna do what we can do." And he's yes, of course, do what you must do. And he's thinking, and I shall do what I must do. Science demands no less. So soon,
unintentional connection with these scientists really need to learn ethics.
But he's going into the diving equipment and submersibles, And these guys are already submersibles. They were born submersibles. So they're down there, and he's suffering shad. They've mutated even more.
Suffering shad.
I don't, yeah. But that's unfathomable. Mutations occur over the course of generations, not during the lifetime of individual creatures. So they're trying, to figure out what's going on. And they notice that they've got these mammals bringing up these, it's like they're digging a trench in the floor of the ocean.
They're using this as a plow, like part of a boat. That's cool.
And then they get attacked or noticed by the octopus guards. And Superman's like, I managed to peel off a couple of the tentacles, but it's putting the squeeze on me with the rest. And these mind blasts coming out. So Aquaman calls to eels, which are the natural predators of octopi. And so he's counting on them to ink what they do naturally. And they do. So they get out of this little incident. And then we go right to this guy.
He can't be controlled by Aquaman.
That is...
triple flips. What is a triple flip?
I have no
Looks
clue.
like a game.
Yeah. I wish you could still get this stuff. Takara?
Oh, I bet if you went on eBay or something. Maybe that'll be part of one of our special episodes. We follow up on one of these ads.
I want this one, because this kid's flipping out.
I'm flipping out.
Trade you. Disaster for monsters. Vampires. Yuck.
No, so it's a variety game. Like, you get different versions of it or something.
That's pretty cool. Okay, back to our story. Just as it's getting interesting.
Them charging.
Yes. So the octopi are commanding those fish pawns to lead the attack on us. If this is to be a duel of telepathic
pawns,
commands.
They're prawns.
Oh, boo. He goes, I win. I stopped them short.
So
but the victory is short-lived. And so he's only able to reach a stalemate with the octopi. And there's too many of them, against him. So he says our conflicting commands are driving them into a frenzy that could kill them. So Superman, again, he flies up out of the water just to get air. He breathes it. And he even says, I don't need to breathe underwater. But he reminds us. He goes up, takes a breath, comes down, and blows the fish apart. So him and his breath, this is a heavily breathy issue for Superman. This lesser power being highlighted. And so Aquaman says, let's go. And then they hear, no, don't hurt them. And it's Dr. March.
Oh, no.
But then he gets hit with a telepathic command, and he starts shooting laser weapons. And Superman's like, Pierre, what's gone into you? So then he has to go.
I brought you a fish, Pierre. What the hell?
You're supposed to be my friend. And this is a pretty cool panel depicting all this.
Octopi.
Yeah. And so he has to go and disable the machine, but the equipment, but he doesn't, he can't hurt his friend. And this battle is amazing.
Oh, it's eye. That looks so cool.
Yeah. And
I like that. Zong.
So anyway, he goes, Aquaman, look below. This super turbulence I created and the laser blast from the sub have uncovered what the octopi were digging for. And it's a spaceship.
Oh, that'll do it.
And they're noticing all these small compartments. And so Superman starts grabbing them and isolating them in these solitary compartments. And then he goes, the question now is to find out where they came from so we can figure out what to do with them. And then he says, I may be able to get the answer to that. So soon, another one I'll make short work of and hold it, Superman. That's my friend Topo. He's one of the good guys.
Topo.
I summoned him here.
Oh, Topo, yeah.
Well, look how friendly Topo is compared to this dude. His head is even become brain shaped.
Yeah.
Topo's still a rocket.
That's why he's so friendly.
He's my friendly rocket octopus. And so he
is
sets
Topo
up
also brown? Or he's green, isn't
Yeah,
he? Okay.
so he takes one of the tentacles and
Sticks it in his face.
and so you learn the story of that on their planet, their sun started getting hot and drying up their oceans, and so they created this ship to go look for a place where they could come and survive. But the oceans here were of such a nature that they devolved into little dummies. So they were basically, nullified. They weren't as smart. They just devolved into octopi like Topo. And but in the meantime, humans came to rule this planet. And he says, you have no right to press a plan of conquest now. He goes, rights are secured. The alien's starting to glow. What? With power. Superman, watch out. And what have I done to him? And he says, a simple neural shock. His brain can no longer transmit electrical impulses to his body. So that actually take down Superman.
Damn.
Yeah.
I feel like if your brain can't transmit electrical impulses, wouldn't that affect like your autonomous functions? That would mess you up.
But he doesn't have to breathe down there, so that's handy.
That's a plus. Are they saying that all octopi on Earth devolved from these aliens that crash landed? And
well,
some of them...
we'll see.
Okay.
I mean, these ones in the ship that came here, because they do look different than Topo. But and he says that to Aquaman, your mental abilities could protect you from such a blast, but without your companion's physical might, you are a small hindrance. So he's about ready to take him down, and he's still translating. Topo's still translating. And he says, "I'm beginning to think he's right. My powers aren't enough to go head to head with these super octopi, and with all the controls knocked out on Marsh's sub, I'll get no help from him." Jerk. But anyway,
Marsh doesn't play a very big role in this. It's almost like, why even have him off on the side there? What's he doing?
Well, yeah. And then he says, what we need is a hero with Superman's strength and my mental powers. But there isn't. And then he's like, aha, I can actually telepathically put my mind into his body.
What? I didn't know Aquaman could do that.
Well, he's just basically telling his body what to do. And it looks like it's working. This is...
The Kryptonian's evolution works similarly to ours. I can control Superman's body through that atavistic fish brain. He controls Superman's fish brain. You know, that little fish brain we all have, we didn't quite evolve out of.
Just enough
you get those plankton cravings.
To activate his concentrate on his heat vision. And so, and he breaks the mental contact with his shipmates and stuff. And then at Aquaman's telepathic command, the Man of Steel's body is dispatched to carry the alien octopus away from the spacecraft and to the surface, where the octopus squirms to normal size. Or shrinks to normal size. Oh, squirms to normal size.
He's squirming.
I've beaten them. But the strain's getting harder and harder to control Superman's movements. I can't keep it up much longer. And then here you go. You get March. He sent a message. And so, who is this?
People from Star Labs.
Yeah,
probably.
people from Star Labs come and they rescue him. And
I
then
thought he was going to throw the octopus into
the
propeller.
blades.
Whoops.
And he says, so by telepathically controlling Superman's body, I hastened his recovery from that neuroblast. Now he can do what he'd gladly have done if the octopi had asked, which is how so many comics, it's like, it's Superman's a nice guy. He would have, so he takes them to, actually, I think he's going to take them to where he took that fish from. But anyway, he's finding them a new home and taking them in their ship.
It's like a new home in my storage locker at the Fortress of Solitude, where I'm going to put you in these tiny little boxes.
Tiny little coffins.
Till I get sick of you.
And then Marsh is like, I think I'll be content to stay in the lab from now on. Aquaman's like, I certainly hope.
I certainly hope so. Sass. That's right, you little asshole.
You little. So
I'll
anyway,
control your fish
yeah.
brain if you don't. Why doesn't he just do that all the time to control anyone who has that sort of? And he's saying it was like a vestigial part of our evolution. Well,
Right,
couldn't he
so-
just control any person then?
Yeah, I wonder if they use that in different episodes.
It seems a little. I wouldn't if I had that ability, and I could also communicate telepathically with sea creatures. I wouldn't make my whole theme be water based.
But he
I
can't
would
be
just
out of
be
water for longer than an hour.
Yeah, I'd be more like I'm mind control man. I also
Wear this water
like
suit.
water. Yeah, I'm water mind. Call me water mind. I wouldn't be as dorky about it as Aquaman. Did you read The Black Pirate too?
I did read the Black
The Purple
Pirate.
Pirate,
Yeah, it's.
I love the character design or the costume designs on these like conquistador looking
Yeah,
guys.
that one
That's
had
cool.
promise. He has your favorite type of boots on.
Oh God, so
And,
lazy. To...
But anyway, we start out with the Black Pirate and Son fighting.
Red Pirate.
Yeah, and they're fighting the the Spanish. Madre de Dios, till the scourge of all the corsairs, the Black Pirate. And so they're fighting, and what happens is his son gets stabbed and thrown overboard. So then you cut to the Black Pirate waking up out of John waking up out of a nightmare of witnessing his son dying. Excuse me.
It was just a dream.
Well, you think so, but it's not. After that
5
happened,
years ago.
yeah, he quit being the Black Pirate.
Oh wow.
And as the Black Pirate, he worked for the king. And he's very...
It's not very pirate-like to have a job with the king.
I know, exactly. But, so he's very, he's England. To England.
Very patriotic.
Very patriotic.
The Black Pirate is, or the...
The Black Pirate.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, he's after to protect the king's ships. But he says...
That's why he's fighting these Spanish fellows.
The king does call him back. Sorry.
That's okay.
Dry throat. And so... and we're back. Sorry about that, guys. I'm fighting my allergies. So where we left off, John is waking up from this nightmare, remembering the death of their son. He goes to the king and he says, "That's it. I can't. I'm not. I just can't be your pirate anymore." And the king he understands. This guy has been helpful, and he lets him go. And there's always this guy. There's always
haircut.
this guy.
He's got the Betty Brant. He said, "Give me the Betty Brant."
And a scorpion tail, please.
While you're at it, I wouldn't mind.
So anyway, but these are the only two, other than his wife and son, who knew that he was the Black Pirate. And so he has not been the pirate for some time now. But coming to him is the king's war minister.
Is it that guy just with a hat?
Yeah,
I would wear a hat too.
I would wear a hat all the time.
It already looked like he was wearing a helmet.
It does the trick. Wear the hat, dude. So anyway, he calls him back out of duty, into duty. He's like, the Puritans, they're attacking our ships, they're stealing our money, all our supplies, and he says, Puritans or pirates, I would fight any and all of them if the king commands. That has ever been the duty of both John Valor.
What a name. John Valor.
And of the Black Pirate. He does have a wonderful ship, though.
That's cool.
So
There's
everybody,
a lot of detail there.
it goes into how everybody's working their butts off on the ship, doing what they need to do,
Not
except
that
for
good.
this guy.
I like this guy's design.
And then when they reach port, he sneaks up onto the shore where the Black Pirate had him spying, seeing what's going on. For if the king decides the Dutch are supporting the pirates who operate from this port, he'll have no choice but to. And he's like, and his little friend's like, what is this, Senor Valor? And you see some Puritans. He goes, I didn't realize these people wear the dark, the dark garb of the English Puritans. And perhaps this maiden can help us. She takes off running. This guy's hilarious. Hold your sombrero. And then, don't you, John Valor? And he looks up, it's his son.
Oh, wow. He didn't die, huh?
He didn't die. And he says that he washed up on shore, and it was the Puritans who brought him back to,
now he has a
to
conflict.
health. And he has become one. And so he and his father are fighting. And then he's showing him.
They're just,
well,
show me how you're fighting these days.
No, he's like.
Oh, I see. He wants to drag him back.
Yeah. And he goes, if I have to, in chains. So anyway, he shows them the ship and everything, and he goes. The pirate is saying, but you attack the English. You attack our towns and our shipping. He goes, well, all we want is enough money. All I want is enough money to get to the new land. And so he goes, Justin, I forbid this. We cannot trust the fabled black pirate. Why not? You trust his son. Well, enough fight him and you fight me. So now he's in this moral predicament because the Puritans are like, we can't trust the black pirate. He's like, but you could trust his son. But if you fight him, then you're going to fight me. And then while they're kind of figuring all this out, these ships from England come. Because our little friend with the hairdo has taken it upon himself to start the war. And not to rely on the black pirate to get them intel on what's actually really happening. So he puts on his headgear, and may God have mercy on my English soul. And he's going to fight with the Puritans.
Oh, no.
And so both he and his son fight with the Puritans. They take down the ship.
I love these illustrations.
These are almost like the, what are the history comic books?
The Classics Illustrated?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the artwork is really nice. And so they sink the ship, and while they're celebrating, who comes to land with his hairdo? And he says, stand aside, John Valor, in the king's name. I'll not step aside, for I see now things are not as simple as I saw them before. You'll have time to ponder Puritan ways in a Dutch cell. So they take him hostage. And we cut back to father and son saying goodbye. And Justin goes, changes his uniform, becomes a Puritan, and his dad sets him off to the brave new world. And I love the artwork, like you were saying. The ships are nice. The costumes are nice.
Yeah.
The coloring
it's
is
got the
nice.
sleeves.
But the story is kind of like, really?
A lot goes on between each panel. Except for this prolonged action scene, there's a lot of plot.
A lot of plot.
There's a lot of the circumstances have suddenly changed, but then we do this thing, and I don't know. It's a little too decompressed or whatever.
And I wonder if they were trying to introduce a new character.
I was going to ask you, do you think this is part of like
because I don't remember the Black
series
Pirate
of the Black Pirate, or is this a self-contained? Like they have different little mini stories at the end of all of them. Whatever happened to the Black Pirate, I guess maybe they're bringing back a character that they had like a mini-series, and then they wanted to give it a more satisfying
ending,
ending. Because it does say, whatever happened to the Black Pirate and Son, ?
Right.
Maybe Roy Thomas just wanted to give it a satisfying ending. Maybe he was the guy that came up with the Black Pirate. And they're like, yeah, we got a few extra pages at the end of this Superman Aquaman thing.
And it's beautifully done. I like all the attention to detail and the scroll work and the text, and this is kind of neat how the the overlap. But I don't know. I don't know that it's a character that could carry.
He's very patriotic, and then he's not.
Well,
he makes an exception. He's good at sword fighting.
And then
I
he's
love
not.
the sky. Yeah. And the detail on the ships are cool, but yeah, this is probably my favorite page in this part of the comic.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of like one of those movies that are like, okay, you have the good guy, you have the, the thing that makes him give up, and then you have the bad guy that is always sneaky, and then he tries to make his big move, and the original guy comes back from defeat and takes him down. It's
It all
kind of
happens a little too fast.
yeah. I don't know, but the drawing is very good. I like the artwork. I like pretty much everything about it. I don't know that it's a character that you could give longevity to.
Maybe there's a reason we haven't heard of him.
Yeah, and his son. That dang Puritan. So anyway, that was my comic book for this week. I loved the whole story with the octopi. I liked how Aquaman took over control of Superman.
Yeah, that was a new development. I wasn't aware of that power.
And
Just don't let him know about your fish brain.
And don't ever let Superman watch your pets when you go on vacation.
Yeah, he is not humane. All right, if you made it this far, like, comment, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.